Welcome to the Liberty Report. I'm your host, Alex Newman. Thank you so much for tuning in here on Patriot TV. Folks, a few weeks ago, we had some incredible guests. In fact, one of the most powerful interviews I ever did in my life, and I've interviewed hundreds and hundreds of people, was two January 6th victims. One was locked up in the gulag. The other was the wife of the individual who was locked up. And yet God sustained them through it all, and they grew closer to him. And it was just so moving. And we want to highlight as many of these stories as we can because something huge happened in our country, folks. We had over 1,000 Americans, political prisoners, being terrorized by an out-of-control government. And then almost by some miraculous process, a new president comes in and lets all the captives free. We have another very special guest today who also was pardoned by Donald Trump, another victim of the January 6th political hit job, political witch hunt. His name is Eliel Rosa. He's worked in 24 countries around the world over the last 2 decades in public policy and urban development. In 2016, he came to the United States. He's a Brazilian to pursue his PhD in public policy and constitutional law. He's got a family. He's got a wife. He's been married for over 3 decades. They have 2 sons and grandsons. They've got. He founded the Nehemiah School of Government. And we want to just share his story with you, folks. It's really moving. Eliel, welcome to the program. It's great to have you. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's just start at the beginning. What were you doing in Washington, D.C. on January 6th?
Alex, thank you so much for the opportunity. It's an honor to be here with you and your audience. I was just a quick recap here. I was listening to the previous interview with Mr. Rosenberg and talking about, singularity and going to other planets and cryptocurrency. But just this morning, in more worldly issues, Green Beret Jeremy Brown was released finally from jail. So this is what's going on in our country right now in the United States of America. I was in D.C. that day for the same reason that probably 99% of people were there that day, for election integrity, and because I felt myself, although not a citizen yet, I am in the process of pursuing my citizenship, but I was there because I knew that I was covered by the First Amendment rights to peacefully assembly, which I did. Everything was peaceful. And to petition the government for, the grievances that we had at that moment in time. And there, as you know, there were Stop the Steal rallies all around the country. I participated in several of them, one in Phoenix, one in Atlanta. Those were the 2 big ones. I went to Atlanta to block, walk, and door knock for the 2 last senators. If you remember, Alex, if we had kept the Senate, we would not have had the mess that we had in 4 years. But Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue finally lost those 2 chairs, those 2 seats. So this is what I was doing in D.C. I was there because I really and deeply, I was absolutely convinced that there were big time fraud, and I was there to do just that in a peaceful manner. That was I was doing there.
Yeah, and that's the case for almost everybody that was there, except maybe the people working for the FBI. We know there were many of them, except the Pantifa and other provocateurs dressed up as Trump supporters, who, of course, were not Trump supporters, and maybe a few people who got carried away and got invited in the Capitol by police and thought, hey, let's go and see what's going on. This was a crime of monumental proportions. What did you see there, Eliel? What was it like being there? What did you experience? What was the mood? How did all that go down?
So I went that day, January 5th. I arrived at the evening time. There was a rally outside, and Mike Lindell was there, and some other people were there, showing how the fraud had happened in the electronic systems. And then on the very next morning, 5:30 in the morning, we, meaning a group of Texans, we went to the Ellipse. 5:30 in the morning. Was super, super cold that day, 21 degrees. But it was a party, it was a celebration, although it was a very sober time, very serious moment in the nation. But people were very focused on what they went there to do, which was to petition the government to, and if you remember, and your audience will remember that, Ted Cruz had requested Mike Pence for 10 days, a pause of 10 days in the certification of the Electoral College votes, so that those six pending states could review all the information and then bring them back for the discussion of Congress that day. So that didn't happen, and at the end of the day. But that morning was just a celebration, just an ocean of red, white, and blue, of Americans, of patriots I talked to people from Wyoming, from Ohio, from California, from New York, from all over the place. Then Trump was supposed to start speaking at 11. That was the program. Trump delayed his beginning, the beginning of his speech 1 hour. So he started actually at 12 in Eastern time. But one thing that you see in the videos that were shown on television that day that none of us there were aware at all was that at 11:23 that morning at the Capitol, the first scuffles with the police officers started to spread and the first breach of the Capitol happened. So Trump had not even started speaking. And then Trump ends his speaking at his speech at 1 p.m. I go back to the hotel. I go back to the Capitol at 2:30. When I get there, Alex, it's open doors. It's like open day. Everybody is in and out. It was a celebration. People were very tense. There were tensions going on, but none of the videos that I saw in the evening back to the hotel, none of the violent videos I saw that day. I saw nothing. I saw people praying. I prayed with 3 different groups. I entered the Capitol at 2:32 that afternoon. I went up on the other side, on the east side, 17 minutes later. These are documents that the FBI presented to the judge. So all I saw that day was peaceful protests, people really desiring to have their grievances to be heard by the government. I saw people picking trash on the floor. I saw people walking inside of velvet robes. So that's all that I saw that day. And of course, I was 20 feet away when we saw it. When we heard the shot that killed Ashley Babbitt, I was 20 feet away from her. I did not see it, but I was in an elbow, sort of a pathway that I heard very clearly the shot. So it was from that moment on, everything that I started to see was just, downhill, going south. When I go back to the hotel and I started to see the videos of everything. And of course, that is the narrative that needed to be built up that day. And that night, that very same night, FBI started to go to some hotels to round people up and started arresting people that same night. So it was a nightmare after that.
I can't even imagine. We've only got a few minutes left in this segment, Eliel, but I want to ask, what happened next? I mean, when did you make your first contact with law enforcement and find out that they were interested in you? And what happened?
So I came back to Midland 3 days later. There's a long story behind this, but 3 days later, I knocked at the FBI's door here in Midland. Because I am not a citizen yet, I wanted to honor this country, Alex. I did not want to be I never wanted to be here illegally for 1 minute. That was what almost happened in 2017 when the paperwork for my PhD were somehow messed up. It was another big story behind that. But I did not want to dishonor this country. I knocked at their door and I said, I'm here to take responsibility for anything that you guys think that I did. And I'm here to tell my story. I was interviewed by them for 2.5 hours. They released me and they said, well, we have nothing. We don't even have indictments yet. And this is one of the things that the judge told me in the sentence today. He said, in 27 years in the bench, I had never seen somebody turning themselves in to law enforcement, even before indictments were even out. So that was a nightmare for me. This has been a nightmare. But one thing that we can talk about in the next segment is my immigration struggle, because I knew that in the criminal arena, it was not going to be a big deal. Why? Because I knew exactly what I had done. I knew that the videos were there, the pictures were there. They knew exactly what I had done. I did not engage in any violence that day. I did not want to overthrow the government, that's for sure. But I knew that I was going to have a lot of problems in the immigration arena, which is probably now what we're going to be talking about the next segment. This is still a nightmare for us here.
Yeah. And so we've got just a few minutes before we go to break. Did you end up locked up? And what did that look like when you turned yourself in?
Okay, so they released me and they said, don't go anywhere. If you need to go somewhere, travel, just let us know. And I said, no, I'm going to stay here. 3 days later, I received another phone call and I went again back to the same FBI office here in Midland. And then they said, well, now you need a lawyer because we have some questions, specific questions for you. And if you don't have a lawyer, and I didn't, they said, well, the government is going to provide a lawyer for you, which they did immediately. So I was detained for 7 hours and I was under the FBI for 2 hours and then under the marshals for 5 more hours. Then they sent me to a judge, a federal judge, and he granted released under a PR bond. And so after that, it was just a couple of 5 or 6 hearings with the judge via Zoom. And then I signed a plea deal on July 19th, 2021. And on October 12th, 2021, I was sentenced in DC to 1 year probation, $500 restitution for things that I never broke, and 100 hours of community services that I paid in the months of November and December that year. So criminally speaking, I got rid of everything and I was free of everything on October 12th, 2022.
So you were never locked up, imprisoned, anything like that, huh? Well, that's good. That's encouraging. Our last guest that we had from January 6th, he spent almost 4 years in one of these gulags. It was horrific.
Yeah, if you allow me, one of the things here that it should spur a conversation in America right now, what happened with me. One of the things that I was not locked up, of course, because I turned myself in, and I was somehow afraid. Cannot say that I was not afraid of being locked up. But the way that they treated me, Alex, was not the way they treated American citizens. And this is a conversation that I have. I have a class here at the Nehemiah School of Government, a 12-hour class on immigration. Out of my own experience in the United States of America and all the studies that I did in this arena, that they are treating right now, they blurred the line between citizen and non-citizen. And this is one of the reasons that I was very well treated by the American government, to the point of not being locked down, to the point of never being harassed, nobody kicking my door down, nobody, taking me to solitary confinement. So that is another thing that I believe Americans should start that conversation. That type of conversation should be a day-to-day conversation, not only in the legal minds or in the talking heads up there, but we need to have that conversation in terms of what citizenship actually means.
Absolutely. Well, let's do it when we get back on the other side of this break. Folks, stay tuned. We're going to be right back with some quick messages from our sponsors, and we'll be right back with much more with Eliel Rosa. Stay tuned.
Attention business owners and entrepreneurs, Patriot TV is launching a brand new TV series showcasing American-made products, and your business could be featured. Whether you sell your products online on Etsy or Shopify and dream of reaching millions of viewers on smart TVs like Samsung, Sony, TCL, and LG, or apps like Roku, Android, and Apple TV, this is your chance. We're searching for US-based businesses offering all types of products and services proudly made in the USA. If you've ever wanted to showcase your products on TV like QVC or the Home Shopping Network, now's your opportunity. Support our American economy, grow your business, and be seen by loyal Patriot viewers across the country. Know someone with a business or have a business yourself? Don't miss out. Contact us at supportingpatriots.com today. Be a guest on this new exciting TV series. Let's put your American-made products in the spotlight.
I couldn't give anything a higher endorsement.
I would be remiss had I not include Cardio Miracle on my very short list of secrets.
It's the real deal. It's a real product. It's not another supplement.
I'm operating about 6 to 8 hours, and I noticed that being on this Cardio Miracle has made a huge difference.
Since I started taking Cardio Miracle about 8 months into it, the benefits have been fantastic.
If I get hungry, then I just have a Cardio Miracle.
Not only is it safe, but it's necessary to take Cardio Miracle to stay well.
This let me sleep. They fill me with more energy, more get up and go, and it's all because of what this company does.
For me as a doctor, Cardio Miracle is a staple.
Cardio Miracle to me is hope in a glass.
To try Cardio Miracle for yourself and get a special fan discount, go to the host page right now and click the link for Cardio Miracle.
Welcome back to the Liberty Report. Alex Newman, your host here on Patriot TV. We're going to get right back to our guest in just a moment, Eliel Rosa, pardoned by Donald Trump over January 6th. But before we do, folks, get over to patriot.tv/Newman, patriot.tv/Newman. What you're going to find there, the opportunity to subscribe, to become a Patriot Defender member. These are the folks that are partnering with us to keep Patriot TV broadcasting the truth to people across the United States and even beyond. When you do sign up, and when you use that promo code Newman, you're going to get 10% off. It's just a phenomenal deal, exclusive content, great bargains and discounts with some of our partners. And also, you'll find a list of our sponsors. You'll find Old Glory Bank. You'll find Cardio Miracle, which I use every day. And when you go through that page, patriot.tv/Newman, you're going to get great discounts, including 10% off on the Cardio Miracle. So get over there, check it out. And before we went to break, we were talking with Eliel Rosa. He was part of the January 6th peaceful protest in Washington, D.C., and the government came after him. He did take a plea deal, so he did not get subjected to some of the horrors that some of the other victims of the January 6th PSYOP were subjected to. Eliel, thank you for staying with us over the break. Before we get back into your personal story, I want to talk to you a little bit about the Nehemiah School of Government. What is it? Why did you create it? Where do people find out about it?
So the website is down, and it's been down ever since this nightmare started. And now that we got the pardon, which is right here on my left hand, I consider myself to be one of the most blessed immigrants in American history, because I am probably the only one non-citizen there that day, Alex. So Nehemiah School of Government started 7 years ago. We celebrated our 7th anniversary this January, last month. And what we do is here at the school is what I did in 24 countries of the world for over 2 decades, which is to teach the American Constitution to people out there in other countries, especially in the local level, the idea of grassroots, the idea of doing things in the local level. My focus has always been in the local level, with the understanding that Washington, D.C. cannot change our lives for good ever. But when you start locally, you can just make things go up and reach somehow Austin in Texas, or the state's capitals and our nation's capital as well. So what we do here at the school is we have activities as classes. As I told you, I have a 12-hour class on American immigration system, but everything based on the Word of God. I understand that America is the most powerful, the freest nation in the world. And I have been believing that for many, many years of my life, for one reason and one reason only. I believe that those guys, first the forefathers 400 years ago, followed by the founding fathers 250 years ago, that decided to follow guiding spiritual principles to the nation. And the Constitution, what I know about the Constitution is that 1/3 of the Constitution pretty much is biblical principles, composed of biblical principles. So what Nehemiah does here, the School of Government, is to animate people in the local level, both citizens and immigrants, so they can take responsibility for their city, for their county, their state, their country. And the second thing is one activity that we have here every year, Alex, is 4 times a year: March the 2nd, July the 4th, September 17th, and November 11th. We have respectively the public reading of the founding documents. March the 2nd, the Texas Declaration of Independence. We go to a park, go to a mall, go to a school, go to a memorial, go to a street, somewhere. We set up a speaker, we set up a microphone, a podium, and there are paragraphs of each one of the documents. Again, March the 2nd, Texas Declaration of Independence, the U.S. independence on July the 4th, September 17th Constitution, and November 11th, the Mayflower Compact. And Americans read their own founding documents. And many, many Americans have come to me in these 7 years saying, I had never read my own Constitution. I had never read my own Texas Declaration of Independence. So these are the 2 major activities that we do here, plus bringing people to for example, training people for local seats in the council, city hall, serving in the local level. So this is pretty much what we've been doing here for 7 years now, bringing people to engage and to build civic culture in this city, as I did in many countries of the world before here.
Well, praise the Lord. I'm so glad to hear that. My wife is also an immigrant to this country, and through homeschooling at our local co-op, she has now become far more knowledgeable about the American system of government, our history, our founders, than I'd say 95% of Americans. It's amazing. I wish more Americans knew these things, and I hope people will get involved. Nehemiah obviously is a very important character in the Bible. He was in charge of bringing restoration, of rebuilding. Why did you choose to name your school after Nehemiah?
So it was not, those are the things that we used to say, and here in America, I heard that too. Those are the things that we don't choose, those things choose us. So this plan, this calling, and I call it a calling because I'm, as a Christian, as a follower of Christ, as you are, Alex, I believe in specific callings and assignments that we receive from the Lord. And I received this assignment in the government arena 25 years ago, probably more than that. But why Nehemiah? I received this direction. I was talking to a guy, a friend of mine from Argentina, and we were talking once, and he said, I want to pray for you. So he was a pastor in Buenos Aires, capital of Argentina, and he prayed for me, and he said, it's a big story, it's a long story, but the shortened version of the story is, he said, I feel that you have this calling for rebuilding of countries, of nations, of cities, whatever you're doing right now. So this is 15 years ago. So I had already started working in the government arena much longer than that, much earlier than that. So Nehemiah was a calling that picked me for that specific moment in time. And the idea of rebuilding, when I started again, when I received that calling, when I was certain in my heart with this very massive conviction in my heart that was going to be our next step, I even thought that my calling as Nehemiah to rebuild something was going to be in Africa, because my ancestors are pretty much, they come from Africa. So I went there, and here I am in the United States of America. And then I remember that, just to wrap this thing up, I was praying, and I told the Lord, this country has been sending missionaries all over the planet for so many years. Why do you want me here? And that was when, for the first time, I heard from the mouths of a pastor from South Korea in Washington, D.C. He said, Eliel, did you know that this is the first time ever that America has been receiving more missionaries than sending to the world? And then I somehow understood that was a calling and an assignment for this country to wake Americans up to their traditions, to their legacies, to their inheritances that are still there, like Jeremiah chapter 6, verse 16 talks about. Go back to those ancient paths. America has an ancient path to go back to. And as you just said, so many times we immigrants understand that and treasure that much more than many Americans out there. So that is a little bit of the story of the Nehemiah School of Government.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Paul. That is fascinating. I praise the Lord for that calling on your life, and I pray that you'll bear much fruit in this assignment that He has given you. Paul, when you got tied into this whole January 6th mess, it really impacted your immigration process, and that's a problem that persists to this day. Share with the folks out there, we've got about 4 minutes left in this segment, share with the folks what happened and what's going on now.
So after my probation ended in October 2022, I was called by USCIS El Paso, which is the representation of the DHS, Department of Homeland Security here in Texas. And I went there, and I was interviewed for over 3 hours. And everything they wanted to know was everything that had already happened in the criminal courts. So my attorney was with me, the immigration attorney was with me over the phone. And it was a very tense, it was a very ideological interview. And as soon as that started, Alex, I understood that I was in a bad shape. That was not going to be the result and the aftermath that I wanted to have, which happened. They did not send me anything 2022, 23, 24. So when it is 32 days, so Trump wins on November 5th, when it is 32 days before Trump's inauguration, I finally received a letter from USCIS denying my permanent residency, denying the green card, and terminating my wife's asylum because she did not want to take the vaccine. She's a biologist. She understood exactly what that was all about. And Trump, now, to his credit, he terminated that requirement for transition or adjustment of status. So we are in limbo right now. Why? Because I don't even know if my asylum is still there, because my attorney is working behind the curtains. I don't know what he's been doing. And he's been finding a couple of obstacles on the way. And this is why I told you in the beginning that we are also trying the political route, because I believe that all of this is political. And in order to wrap this up, Alex, I believe that my family we are the poster children for the types of immigrants that President Trump wants in this nation. And I believe that if President Trump or somebody in his orbit hears about our case, after we have already waited for the 5-year span of time between the adjustment of status between asylum and green card, he would grant us citizenship immediately, because this was a political move. It was a political maneuver at the end of the last administration, just to give us more headache and just to force us to put our hands in the pockets to get a money that I never had $25,000 at once in my entire life. That's why we put a fundraiser out there so people could, if they want to help us. We want to become citizens of this country. I want to be able to vote in this nation. I want to be able to be voted. I want to serve this country, because this country has served the world. This country has served my country. And this is the way that I want to recompense, to give back, is to do what I do every day. And one day in the future, after my citizenship, I would be honored to also be able to serve this nation.
Well, we so appreciate you sharing your story, Eliel. I do hope that everything will work out. People can find that Give, Send, Go. It's at givesendgo.com/USA citizenship. That's
Right.
givesendgo.com/USA citizenship if you want to partner with Eliel and help him do what needs to be done. But Eliel, thank you very much again for joining us today. You mentioned that the website for the Nehemiah School of Government was temporarily down.
Yeah.
Is there any way for people to follow you? Are you on any of the social media sites, anything like that?
Well, so I'm back at Twitter, X now, and you can find me at Eliel Rosa USA, Eliel Rosa USA. Under the my name there is Anno Domini. This is it means the year of the Lord, the year of our Lord, and people can find me there, and including the fundraiser campaign is also there. I have not been dealing with that a lot. I've not been posting, just retweeting people, because I'm still gasping for air. I'm still coming back to life somehow, breathing now after the pardon. So I hope that soon I will be engaging in a more efficient way in doing what I was doing before January 6th here for a couple of years here in America, Alex. So I am so grateful for the opportunity, brother. I thank you. And I would like to commend you for the website that I just read about you. Everything you do, you said, I do everything for the glory of God. That is exactly where my heart is. And I understand what this nation is all about. And this is why I believe that the Lord is going to be blessing this nation. So this nation can keep doing what this nation has been doing, which is to bless the world for 250 years from now. And let's get to the 500th year.
Amen. Hey, thank you so much, brother. Appreciate you joining. We will keep you in prayer, and we really thank you for coming on the program. I hope we can talk to you again soon.
Absolutely. God bless you, sir.
God bless you too. All right, folks, we're out of time today on the Liberty Report, but I do want to encourage you, if you feel led to help finance this, get over to givesendgo.com/USA citizenship. Get to see your elected representatives. These are the kinds of Americans we need in America. And I think that's why the left has tried so hard to keep people like this out and bring in people from Islamic countries to fundamentally transform our nation. And we need to be on our knees in prayer that God would grant us a real reprieve here and that we could rebuild what has been lost now over a period of generations. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Alex Newman. This is the Liberty Report. Until next time, God bless you all.